Hi, Shalom Chaverim. Have you ever dealt with discipline problems, whether you're an educator or perhaps a parent? We all know that discipline is quite an ordeal for children. Let me share with you a story that's a very powerful lesson, and perhaps you can incorporate the lesson into your own life. It was told about a father who had more than one child, but there was one child, we'll call him Yaakov, who really misbehaved. And not only was there the difficulty with Yaakov, but there was Yaakov with the interaction with his siblings, and Yaakov with the interaction with his parents, and then when the parents were upset, how they took it out on the siblings. It was simply, he was ruining the family. And of course, Yaakov tried everything. The father tried everything. He tried good, he tried hitting, he tried not hitting, disciplining, rewarding, and charts. Nothing helped. And he was at his wit's end. And he went and consulted with a very wise person who suggested something a little bit outlandish. He says, you know what? Words don't mean anything to him anymore. Because it's predictable. He'll do something and you'll make a comment. Do action. What action should I do? He says, go out and buy yourself a board, 8 inches by 10 inches. I want you to hang it up in a very prominent place. Put it in the kitchen. Every time Yaakov misbehaves, don't say a word. Just take out a nail and take out your small little hammer and hammer in the nail. Of course, your son will be asking you, what are you doing? And you will tell him, I'm marking your misdeed. Well, he tried everything. Why not try this? So during the day, he marked down on the father on a piece of paper all of the misdeeds. Yaakov comes for dinner, and before dinner is served, the father makes a big production, takes out many nails, takes out his hammer, starts hammering. After a couple of minutes, Yaakov says, Dad, what are you doing? He says, well, you know, Yaakov, you've had a lot of misdeeds today. But as you noticed, I haven't given you any criticism. But I want you to know that I marked it, and I recognized it, and it has bothered me. So if you want to know how many times you hurt me today, all you have to do is look at those nails. And he looks at 8 by 10, with a couple of nails, and he laughs. And this continues day after day, week after week. And Yaakov doesn't really change his behavior, but he's realizing that that board is becoming more and more full. In the meantime, the father is really crushed. He doesn't know. He thought it would help, that he would see a graphic example of all of his misdeeds and how it's hurting him, like a nail goes into the heart. Very graphic, very dramatic. Yaakov's not affected. Well, 7 months pass, and it comes dinner, and Yaakov comes down in his usual obstinate and arrogant self, and the father takes out the nails, and suddenly he begins to cry. Yaakov says, Dad, what are you crying about? What is it now? The father says, look at the board. He says, yeah, I've seen the board. It's filled with nails, so what's new? He said, Yaakov, there's no more room. And that struck Yaakov. There's no more room for you to put in a nail? He said, there's no more room. You have committed so many misdeeds. You have upset me so many times. My heart has been shattered so many times. There is no more room for a nail. And the father began to weep. Yaakov was taken aback. And it suddenly struck him what he has been doing to the family, in particular to his father. And he was like dumbstruck, couldn't say anything. And he went over to his father. And in a voice that his father had never heard him say before, he says, Father, can you give me another chance? The father looks at him, doesn't know whether he heard correctly. If he heard correctly, what should he do? And in a sobbing voice, he says, another chance? Another chance for what? For you to hurt me? He said, Father, please, you've been marking me all of this time. Mark me tomorrow. see how many times that in the past that I've hurt you, and today and tomorrow that I won't hurt you. Please take out every day the same amount of nails you would have put in. Father just shrugged his shoulders. Sure. The next day, Yaakov was a changed boy. Got up on time, was respectful, acted nicely to his parents, interacted with his siblings. The parents thought that they had adopted a new kid. Of course, when it came dinner, the father, with great relish, takes out the hammer, reverses it, and takes the place where you take out, and he took out 25, 30 nails. Didn't say anything. Yaakov did not say anything. A week passes, 2 weeks pass, and suddenly, finally, Yaakov is able to see some of the wood. And the more he sees the wood, the better he begins to act. He does homework with his parents. He volunteers to clean up. He goes out of his way to be an exemplary child. The parents thank God 20,000 times a day. Our child is different. And of course, every night, the father gleefully says, and tonight we're going to celebrate another beautiful day of my beloved son. And he starts taking out nail after nail after nail after nail after nail after nail. And after 3.5 months, it's almost completely bare. And the father can't wait for that special night. It's coming very quickly. That night when he'll take out the last nail. Yaakov began to count. Not only days, but the hours. Calculating when will the last nail be taken out. And finally, the great day comes. Father buys a cake. The kids are dressed up as if it would be Sabbath. The mother is there beaming. And the father says to the children, children, we are blessed to be a family. And our greatest blessing is our Yaakov. Children, watch. There is no more that terrible kid. There's only Yaakov that we know, we love. And with great fanfare, he takes out the last nail. And the kids, wow, it's a great production. And Yaakov just stares at that board. And then he bursts out in tears. Father runs out to him. Yankala, why are you crying? Today should be the happiest time. Look, we're clear. We're free. There's no more sin. You're my dream child. And he looked at the father. He said, it's true there are no more nails. But look at the holes. Look at all of those holes. How will I ever undo that? This is really a very powerful story. Because when we think about undoing a misdeed or repenting, and we take out that nail, and we say to God, we're changed, so take away the sin, we're sorry, we won't do it again, and God does it. But what about that hole that's left? Both within ourselves and indeed in the cosmic worlds. In the past, I grew up in the age of typewriters. If you mistyped, there was nothing you could do about it. But there was something called whiteout or correctotype. And essentially what that did was it masked the mistake and allowed you to type over it. Well, in official looking documents, you couldn't get away with it too much. Because no matter how much you typed over and how much whiteout you used, it just didn't look right. But today we have the delete button. You could have a terrible document filled with typos, filled with mistakes. And then you look at it, you say, this is not right. And you just press that delete button, you start all over. That, my friends, is tshuva. That, my friends, is divine grace. You see, whatever we do, at times we make a hole. And we leave an impression, even after we say we're sorry. So that fight with your spouse, that blow up you had with your neighbor, 2 weeks later, 2 days later, 2 hours, oh, I'm so sorry, please forgive me. Yes, you're forgiven, and there's a hole in that heart. But then there's a form of teshuvah, repentance, where God says, there's no hole left. It's delete, zip, there's nothing there. Now there's only goodness, and there's only greatness. My friends, we are living in that special time of Jewish history where we are not only capable of undoing past mistakes, but of creating such holiness and such goodness and so much virtue that the past is deleted. When I say deleted, I mean to say that the past that occurred does not have a vacuum. There's no void. Instead, we are filling that with goodness and holiness. And that's why we're eternally optimistic. And we are confident that better days are ahead of us, more spiritual days are ahead of us. The Jewish destiny will rise greater and greater. And indeed, as I never tire of reminding myself, and by doing so reminding you, we are the generation that will welcome the righteous Mashiach. So friends, let's get to it. Let's build. Let's undo the past. That's negative. Let's fill it with goodness. And by doing so, we will certainly merit to see much nachas and happiness from ourselves, our community, the world around us. And indeed, we will cause a nachas ruach, a sweet compassion to the Almighty Himself. Amen.